Well, your Right Angle team brings you breaking news from around the globe, and this just in, Beto O'Rourke is a furry. Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Whittle with Steve Green and Scott Ott. Welcome to this edition of Right Angle, made possible by the members at BillWhittle.com and also by our friends over at the Patriot Post, who have been kind enough to put up some of our videos. We're doing a post for them. We're sort of cross-pollinating this scintilla of awesomeness. So if you really want to read some really terrific articles and see some great memes, then Patriot Post is the place to go. And there's a link located directly below us here to get you over there. Their meme section is really incredible. Speaking of memes, Beto O'Rourke is a furry. Now, what is a furry? Some of you may be asking. If you don't know what a furry is, you should say to yourself, you have been successful in life and you have maintained a level of moral integrity and aloofness from the undercurrents of society. And for that, you should get a first place medal, every single one of you, whether you knew what a furry was or not. A furry is a term used for people, grown adults, who like to dress in fursuits as animals. They get zipped into these things that are covered with fur, and they have heads, and they have different levels of quality. Some of them are thousands. I bet you some of them are tens of thousands of dollars. And there's a certain amount of sexual gratification that comes with this in some people, and most of the people, it's not my cup of tea, but hey, it's a free country, right? So the question is, of course, Beto O'Rourke is a furry. And that's very disturbing from somebody who wants to be president of the United States. Now, guys, I want to treat this story with the same degree of respect and integrity that the mainstream media treats their stories regarding conservative politicians. So, Steve, I'll start with you. Beto O'Rourke has not been able to provide any evidence whatsoever that he's not a furry, and I find his silence on this issue to be extremely suspicious.
Oh, no, you ask him if he's a furry, and he'll say, nay. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have gone there.
It was a good shot.
No, like any good meme, there's, believe it or not, just the smallest germ of a kernel of truth in this. There's, he used to be in a punk band, and there is video of him wearing a sheep's mask and a onesie on stage doing, I think it's Blitzkrieg Bop by the Ramones, which is a great song, by the way. I just have no desire to see it performed with a drummer or whatever he was playing, wearing a sheep's mask and a onesie. Grown men shouldn't wear onesies, really, even if you happen to be a furry. That said, I know you're talking about this because Politico, this meme has generated enough buzz now that Politico felt the need to write a story about how the Democrats are pretty much failing to respond to this snowballing meme, if it can be said to have generated that much buzz. And the reason why, I think, is, Beto is supposed to be the cool, hip, young Democrat. He skateboards. He was in a punk band, and he drops a lot of F-bombs on the campaign trail, right? This is the hip guy. He's the young, fresh, kind of hipster face, because, they've got Joe Biden, who is 77 next month, I believe. Liz Warren, who's not far behind. Bernie Sanders, he learned his communism on the knee of Karl Marx. So he's also up there in age.
Are you sure that Karl Marx didn't learn his Marxism on Bernie's knee? Are you sure you got that right?
He might have. Maybe it's actually Bernieism. You could be right. So that said, the reason why the Democrats are in panic mode, it's not that Beto is actually going to win the nomination or become president or anything like that. It's that this meme is actually dinging their young, hip, cool, skateboarding, punk band, F-bomb dropping candidate, and they don't know what to do. They're completely flummoxed. They're used to doing this against the Republicans. Right. Mitt Romney, who really turned out to not have a spine at all, was accused of horrible things, of giving women cancer. You can't give people cancer. But the Democrats played that card against him, and Mitt didn't know what to do or didn't care to do anything, and so it stuck. He had binders full of cancer women, and that's the meme. And they threw him on top of the roof of his car with his dog and stuff. Well, here it is. I love this term. My friend Matt, who is, he's got a He had a bumper sticker on his card that said Uber Geek to give you an idea what kind of guy Matt is. Matt refers to the guys at 4chan as having weaponized autism.
That's right. That's what they call themselves, weaponized autistics.
Exactly. And I love that phrase. And now the weaponized autism kids are setting their sights on the Democrats' hip guy, and it's working. God bless you guys.
That's my take on it, pretty much. Scott, in this article, because the whole meme really peaked back in March, but Politico just came out with an article, used it as an example of the misinformation that cost the Democrats the election in 2016 and may cost them the election in 2020. This kind of misinformation must be stamped out, needless to say.
Misinformation kept Hillary out of Wisconsin.
And of course, needless to say, this kind of misinformation needs to be thoroughly eradicated from our society, unless it's misinformation like Tina Fey saying that Sarah Palin said that she can see Russia from her house, in which case that's protected political speech and good for the health of the republic. So, I think the issue here is it really is kind of if you'll pardon the hipster expression, sauce for the goose is sauce for the gander. They're getting a dose of their own medicine. They're being mocked. They're being portrayed as something they're not, and they're being made fun of. And Politico is making this case that this is a threat to the republic. Well, it's not a threat to the republic. It's a threat to this progressive control over the narrative. But tell me more about your opinions of Beto O'Rourke getting dressed up in furry outfits and molesting people in shopping malls. Now, look, he has not provided the slightest bit of evidence, despite these accusations, that he has not molested people in shopping malls inside of furry outfits. And I think that speaks volumes about Beto O'Rourke and his character and his integrity. Well, and why he's not fit to be president.
And upon whom does that burden rest? But the guy who, may dress up like a donkey and in order to live out his fantasies. I mean, after all, he's a grown-ass man. I think that the only regret I have about this is that, I'm just finding out about it now, even though it was a hot thing when Beto was doing better in the polls. And I'm looking for what the current memes are about Elizabeth Warren or Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. Is Kamala Harris still in it? Or any of the others, who persist in the race and have an actual shot at things.
I'd walk a mile for Kamala Harris.
It is ironic, isn't it, that the people who had originally sort of mastered the ability to attach unfavorable perceptions to somebody based on nothing now feel that this monster that they've created has turned on them and is being used against them. And it's funny because I'm kind of probably like a lot of Americans. On the one hand, I'm not the kind of guy who would try to perpetuate false information about somebody like this. On the other hand, it's hard not to laugh at it, if I were still on social media, which I'm not, it would be a kind of a moral quandary for me about whether I should share such a meme to perpetuate something that I knew to not be true. And yet I wouldn't regret it too much if I did it.
Well, I'm just taking my lesson from the American news media, which has shown me the standards by which all stories must be reported. Again, I do find it extremely illuminating that Beto O'Rourke has not denied that he's molested people in a furry suit in malls across America. And I really think that to some degree, that's pretty much all the evidence you need to say that the man is guilty as charged and is not fit to be president, probably should be locked up. Beto, we're coming for your onesie. We're coming to take your onesie away from you and your sheep mask. We're going to come and take it from you because we think it's dangerous. And the noise you hear in the background is the legions of Republicans cheering their lungs out that this danger to the Republic has been finally neutered. One of the things that interests me about this is why this thing stuck. They could have called him any number of things. It's true there's this footage of him in the band, but there's something about Beto O'Rourke that looks a bit like a cartoon. animal, almost a bit like he's like a Warner Brothers character, He's kind of like, Lazy LaRue, the armadillo from Texas who couldn't get up enough energy to cross the road or something. Anyway, I am repeating this story because it deserves to be repeated. And if the people at Politico don't like the fact that the internet is providing mockery of their candidates by saying things about them that isn't true or aren't true, then they might want to take a pretty close look in the mirror and think about what they've done to Sarah Palin, to Mitt Romney, as Scott pointed out, to George Bush, to every single Republican who ever got on stage, who ever ran against them. This kind of thing, this kind of character assassination goes on every single night on Saturday Night Live. We've had to put up with it for years. And I think, frankly, that in the final analysis, that's why so many young people are turning into conservatives, if not Republicans, because it is in the nature of young people to poke fun at the pompous and the overfilled gas bags. And conservatives have been poked at so many times, we're pretty much immune to it now. It's these pompous liberal guys that really need to be deflated. And I think my attitude towards this and my attitude towards what's going on in the pop culture is best explained by Matt Stone and Trey Parker, the creators of South Park, who are also in the news lately, who have a very good feel for the pulse of the nation. When they were asked about their politics, they said, "Are you conservatives or are you liberals?" He said, "We hate conservatives, but we effing hate liberals." And I really think that's kind of the dynamic here. Don't be so full of yourself. And the more full of yourself you get, the more they're coming at you. If you want to avoid a dog pile, ignore the dog pile. That'll do it for this edition of Right Angle, made possible by the members at BillWhittle.com and also by our friends over at the Patriot Post. We'd love to have you go over there and check out our stuff, and love to have some of their folks come over here and check out some of ours. We'll see you next week right here on Right Angle.